It is the Blue Room. It is your instant match reaction for Everton 0, West Ham United 1. Disappointing way to start the year for the Toffees. Joining me, Mike Diash will be here shortly. He's got a great view of his living room wall there for those of you on YouTube at the moment. Also joining me, Dave Darney and Ryan Reynolds. I'll come to you first, Dave. You sort of saying there before we came on air, not much to say about that game, really. Just an utterly forgettable 90 minutes of football. West Ham probably just about edged it, I think, in terms of chance and general play. And they got a lucky break at the end and they come away with the points. Just a night to forget for Everton, wasn't it, all in all?
Well, first of all, very happy New Year to all the Liverpool fans who'll be gloating in this stream, because there'll be more of them watching this than there will Evertonians. So happy New Year, guys.
To be fair.
I think they do, yeah. Well done, lads.
Helps us get up the YouTube search engine anyway, so nice one for that.
Hopefully lining our pockets for the millionaire money that we're going to be making in a few years' time. No, I mean, it was a dreadful game of football, wasn't it? It was, I actually forgot it was New Year's Day, given how quiet it was last night. And I don't know, maybe a lot of our players struggled to awaken from their slumber in the build-up to this one. I mean, I think one thing's for certain, I'm really glad, even more so now, we didn't have that Manchester City game, because that looked like an Everton bereft of energy, any sort of potent threat of scoring a goal, and pretty bereft of ideas. If they had taken the pitch against Manchester City a couple of days ago, it might well have been something a hell of a lot worse than the 1-0 defeat that we're looking at against West Ham. But nonetheless, it's a massive opportunity missed. And to be fair to them, they created that opportunity themselves to get within a really significant position in the Premier League. They're still in that position right now, don't get me wrong, but to go within a point of the league leaders after 16 games would have been an incredible achievement at this stage of the season and the process under Carlo Ancelotti. And yeah, it just felt like they ran out of ideas. Interestingly enough, I felt the team looked a little bit more like the one that we set up with earlier on in the season, that looked like it wants to be a little bit more fluid. But the problem with that was we still didn't have the personnel to do that. When James comes on the pitch, I think the idea is obviously to give the ball to him as often as possible. He quite clearly isn't match fit.
Was he?
At all. I mean, it was a pretty desperate move, wasn't it? Understandable one, of course. But I think what you're doing there, when you're taking away that consistency we had, and obviously that happens because Seamus Coleman comes back in at right back. Again, I think he didn't look fit either. Either not fit or massively off form, because I thought he struggled in the game largely. And the obvious reason he was in was to provide an attacking outlet at right back. Otherwise, you leave Michael Keane in and put Holgate back to right back as well. So, felt like a team that was sort of twixt in between, didn't really know what it wants to be. And we've spent a lot, apologies for that, we've spent a lot of, someone's West Ham fan round by mine, I think.
What was that?
It was a firework. They're nuts for them around here. I'm not sure why. But anyway, there's so many of them, those players there that have played in different variations, this Everton side. And that to me looked like one that we didn't know what it was really about, what they were really trying to do. Was it trying to be this sort of solid block that was able to basically see out 80-90% of games and then nick a goal? Or was it trying to be something a little bit more because it was at Goodison, because they had that confidence from the results that we've had lately? Didn't look like it was really either. And it was pretty easy to predict that. It just felt to me what West Ham had in reserve in terms of coming onto the pitch later on in the game. I don't know if that's fireworks or someone getting shot, but noise was doing me head in.
Right.
Just to finish my point off, I'll get there in the end, really. It just felt like we didn't give Calvert-Lewin enough opportunities to turn West Ham the other way.
I mean, someone's delighted in Dave's Road, Ryan, that I've still lost time by the sound of it. I've just put him on mute for the time being while the fireworks calm down. What did you make of that, mate, tonight?
Do you know what it reminded me of a little bit is when, when you're really busy at work or in life and you battle through, and then you get that release valve and then you get sick, you get the flu or a runny nose and you just feel really bad. And it seemed to me like we'd battled through that really busy period, and then we finally got that release this week with the game getting called off, and it just felt like that pressure valve released, and everyone relaxed a little bit too much, and you get a performance like that where there's a team happy to sit back because they're running on empty anyway, and they're happy to defend for 90 minutes and see if they can nick a result somewhere along the way. And I just thought we weren't brave enough on the ball. We passed along our defence way too much. And Mina or Holgate should have been sort of moving the ball a bit more forward and really pushing up nice and high. And, when we had the ball, we just didn't use it. We didn't get into any dangerous areas. We didn't create enough. And at the end of the day, our, two match winners, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin Calvert-Lewin was off, was struggling from opportunity, and Richarlison was off the boil. So when that happens, you can't really expect to get much of a result, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And it sort of felt like West Ham had done what we done to teams in December, where you make the game just really horrible. You bring it down to fine margins, and you hope that those margins go in your favour, or you're just better in the moments where those situations come about in the opposition. And Everton have done that pretty well throughout December, not so much tonight. And West Ham defended well, and they took the chance, in fairness to him. I don't know if Dave's back or not at the moment. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, I don't know if fireworks obviously calmed down. It doesn't feel like Dave, obviously we've made a lot of progress in December, but I just sort of watching them in the first half, and I think while they tried to be ambitious and wanted to do a little bit more on the ball, it's probably quite hard to slip out of that mood where you've been in for a month. It's been game after game after game, and it's been. These fireworks are insane. What's going on here?
I'm actually convinced that someone's watching this and setting fireworks off. I am actually convinced, mate, because I basically screamed expletives out the window then after you muted me. I'm glad you kept me on mute, by the way, and just shouted all sorts, because it's about 6 doors over, and quite clearly someone's watching this, and someone knows that it's me.
Some Reds are made up, aren't they? They've just been waiting for this. I know that Dave Downey just wait for the post-match reaction, then get them all off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's infuriating. I think it's stopped now. What was your question?
If
it's not fireworks, it's bloody dogs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you need to get like a soundproof studio or something in your house.
I need to move house.
But I was just sort of saying, it's they sort of did what we've done to teams in December, and as much as it was poor, and I think it looked as though it was hard for them to sort of flick that switch tonight and go from being a team that defend and make it hard for teams to stay compact into being a bit more expressive. And those patterns of play weren't quite there. The ingenuity wasn't quite there. And I think when James comes on, obviously it's the end of the game, but when you've not got him, Luca Dean, and probably Alex Iwobi, who's off the most creative player, it was just a load of toil, wasn't it? And it was all very fractured.
Well, it felt like to me that it was always going to be a performance that type that will catch up with us at some point. We've done tremendously well getting the points return, what we've got from December. I think a lot of us at the start of the month would say, if you told me Everton would have 29 from 16 games, that's one hell of a return. And to be in the position that we're in. But I think it also shows you the fragility and the sort of, I hate to say it because it's a cliche these days, but the unpredictable nature of the Premier League. Because I think many people would have this down as a banker home win against West Ham tonight. As good as they've been, the three behind us now, I think, after that win. And yeah, we got a bit of a taste of our own medicine. I think also, if you look at the absentees, West Ham had a stronger squad than us going into this tonight. You look what they could bring on from the bench to affect the game. You think Mikel Antonio was Pele. If you listen to Steve McManaman, he's a very, very good player, but he's not that good. I always worried about the threat. I tweeted at the time he'd be the natural threat you'd think they could bring on when we're starting to tire a little bit in defence, and we simply didn't have anything to respond to that with on the bench for ourselves. You look at Cenk Tosun, he's not going to do much for you, even though we got him behind the defence, unlike many. And I thought, what's going to happen here? And he tries some weak touch to back heel it to somebody. And we just don't have them impact players. If you can put Bernard on the bench and have him come back on like he did against Sheffield United, it'll feel a lot more comfortable to me, that. And I think the elephant in the room, Matt, for me, aside from these fireworks, is Richarlison. I thought he stunk the place out. I'm not sure how he gets 90 there, if I'm honest. he would have been one of the first people I'd pull off the pitch, to be honest with you. This is really hard to concentrate, and I'm going to pat myself on the back after this. But yeah, you can question the substitutions from Ancelotti, but end of the day, it was a really poor day at the office, a real big opportunity missed, given that we didn't have the City game the other night. And now we're looking at, a couple of weeks before we play in the Premier League again. Is it Wolves away next, is it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? We've got the FA Cup in between. Hopefully we get some more players back. Luca Dean's probably going to be back. So, yeah, it's so hard to look at a game like that and not see it as a huge chance to really establish ourselves as a force in this league. But then, we did well to climb the ladder and get that far anyway off the games we've played. Got to go and do it again now.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, isn't it, Ryan? And, you mentioned Richarlison briefly, mate. And yeah, it's one of them at the moment, isn't it? I'm not entirely sure what sort of... I had to mute Dave again. But yeah, I don't know I don't know if he's playing on the right side tonight, so we struggled to sort of get into the game. But just everything at the moment with him seems to be linking well with other players. His touch is poor. He's not really getting into goal scoring areas, and I just don't know what sort of him. I mean, have you got any sort of ideas yourself? He just doesn't seem to be enjoying his footy at the moment.
No, I don't know if it relates back to losing Luca Dean and that relationship they had on the left, or not. Maybe that's had a bigger impact on him than we thought. I mean, obviously as a team it has a significant impact, but that they had such a good relationship down the left that maybe he's missing that and that overlap that Dean can provide. But it just seems like nothing's working for him at the moment. And I just thought today, even he's sorry, I'm just looking at Dave on his camera. And
do you know what? There'll be so many people who come up to this expecting want to hear three angry dudes going mental. I was just laughing.
I forgot to turn my camera off.
What was it?
At least
I just saw Dave down the corner of my
eye. Sorry.
We're getting a view. Oh, it did lovely then, to be fair.
That is sensational.
Beautiful. Like Sydney Harbour Bridge, mate, in Dave's street.
I saw Dave out of the corner of my eye yelling abuse, and I just couldn't control myself. So.
Oh, dear me.
Anyway,
go on.
It just seems like nothing's working for him. And the disappointing thing today, I thought, or this evening for you guys, was that normally, he works really hard defensively, and I didn't really see that a lot from him either. His work rate wasn't quite there today, and it just seemed like a really sulky performance, which, is quite rare for him in all aspects of his game.
Yeah. And you're right. And I think that sort of came through with Calvert-Lewin as well, didn't it, Dave? That's 5 Premier League games in a row now when he not scored. But no service whatsoever. You think of the goals he scored in the early weeks of the season. We were speaking about today on our show when it was going really well for him. It was low deliveries in behind defences and got through every now and then that he get onto as well. And there's just absolutely none of that at the moment, is there?
No, I mean it was difficult enough. It's something we spoke about in the Player of the Year show that we did earlier today, wasn't it? In terms of you don't worry about it from his perspective. I think that the concern that is for me that it's more a reflection of what everybody else is doing in order to try and provide him with something, Matt. And it was really, really poor today. I think they showed the stats about half an hour into the game about which sides of the pitch Everton attacked West Ham on, and it was about 60% on Richarlison's side. I think it was pretty obvious early on in the game we weren't going to get any success down that side at all. He played him on the right-hand side, obviously. Iwobi out with tiredness.
So and then tonight, by the way, to credit to him, we're in that position now, much of an influential player he's been, but what we really missed his effort tonight.
Oh, completely. Yeah, absolutely. He's been one of our form players, hasn't he, on this little mini revival that we've had. Quite worrying we're doing this in 4-game spates as well, isn't it? By the way, can't quite get over the 4-game in a row mark.
I think that's the nature of the league. Try and put this in a bit of perspective. We're the only team to have won 4 games in a row twice. It feels like a season where you're going to have a Leeds at home, where you're going to get beat every now and then.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating, does it? Because we know we're probably better than these sides if you put all the best players on the pitch. So yeah, but I mean, Bernard was a real disappointment, Matt. I thought he'd have grabbed the ball by the horns tonight, given the cameo appearance that effectively helps us win against Sheffield United. But wasn't to be. It's probably him in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Given his time at Everton. So yeah, back to the drawing board. It's nice to know that when we play a Premier League game again, we should have even more players back fit. James should be 100%. Luca Dean should be back in there. Feels like the reset button can be pressed if you and like I say, if you give me that points return heading into the FA Cup week, I'd have beat your hand off.
Yeah, you sort of like that, Ryan, as well. I've seen it today. These fireworks getting worse and worse. Do you know what? This is the thing about doing these things live on YouTube, because if it's a podcast, we just pause and wait for it. But so we can do it.
Hopefully, it's provided people with a bit of a smile tonight in place of Everton winning the game.
Yeah, but Ryan, you maintain your perspective in regards to it all, mate, as well. Sort of just see it as just a bad day at the office, that, and doesn't really require much more in terms of. I mean, I suppose you can look at it in the sense that we've played 2 games in a row now against United and West Ham in a row, and not scored in either of them. Maybe that's a bit of a concern, but overall, it's still pretty positive, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you made a really valid point before when you talked about the just the way the league is at the moment, and these results are getting thrown up every now and then. It's not the usual. We've got the better team or the better squad on the day, so we're just going to go there and get 3 points there. There are upsets coming throughout the league, and that's why the table is what it is, and that's why teams like West Ham are 3 points off us, and Arsenal's mid-table and all that sort of stuff. It just seems like a season where nothing's sort of going to type quite at the moment. Whether that changes once things settle down, who knows? But I don't think you can read too much into it. I think the team had been playing so well over the last month that a bad day was going to come eventually, and it's the same old adage after our last run. It's how you respond after that, and obviously we've got 11 days or something like that before the next game against Wolves, and with an FA Cup in the middle there, and you'd imagine there'd be heavy rotation going towards the FA Cup, and I just want to see them bounce back against Wolves with those key players back, and I think that'll be the really telling point. If they put in another performance like that again, then we can start to chat about some more concerns. But just given what they've given us over the last month, I'm prepared to let them have a little bit of a leave pass tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, and hopefully a few people will get rested against Rotherham in the cup, and we go into Wolves feeling a little bit better. I should have some comments here on YouTube. Dave Macker said Dave's performance has been the most entertaining event of the night. Well done to you, Dave. You brought some light relief there in that regard. Steve Davis said no one can defend that display wherever we are in the league. Get a backup striker on loan or to buy. Yeah, I suppose there's been a lot of chat about Sami Khedira today, lads, and potentially coming in. It's not really one I'm too much on board with, but Dave, it's you sort of look at those players coming to the bench tonight. We've got a call on James, who's probably about 30% fit on that evidence, and you've got Cenk Tosun coming on, who, as we've seen, doesn't offer much. If you can bring on someone there who's got a little bit of something extra to the game, then perhaps you can still get a draw out of that or something like that. Maybe that's something we should be looking at as a priority in January.
Yeah, well, I don't know. In that particular type of game, I don't think someone like Sami Khedira does much else than what we saw, to be honest with you. I don't think he's in there for that particular type of match. But in terms of getting another body in there, I mean, I've seen a few people, someone on Twitter mentioned before that we've already got 8 midfield players. I'm not really sure if I counted them off the top of my head, name by name, but apparently that's what we have in terms of first team players in the midfield region. It's how much you judge that Sami Khedira adds to an Everton midfield in terms of what we don't already have. Now, if it's a calming influence on the ball and somebody who can pick a really good pass, a forward pass, then I guess he's the man for the occasion, isn't he? I'm with you. I think I'm more looking at. I mean, I've seen this in 2 different ways in terms of getting him in, because having somebody who can pass the ball with his passing ability, I think can't be a bad thing. But then I think, what's the caveat to that? What's the price you're paying for that? It's extortionate wages. It's essentially him being able to fit into this side in a very particular type of game, you would think. like that, like I say, that tonight, no chance. Maybe against Sheffield United when you're going to dominate the ball a little bit more, and Everton are going to try and counter attack, and you've got somebody like him playing a forward pass from deep. Maybe that's the occasion for him. How often is that going to happen in this Everton side? I'm not too sure. So at the moment, I think I'll be leaning towards giving him a miss, which sounds crazy, but he does turn 34 soon, and he's had a real host of knee injury problems, which obviously
not played a class match this June. So yeah, but what about Ryan? What's the priority based on what you've seen in the last few weeks for January?
I just think we need a little bit more depth in attack for me. Someone to replace Richarlison on the left if we need to give him a break, or anyone that can play across that front three. I don't think you necessarily need someone who can play on the left, but someone who can rotate through those positions and just give you some added variety, I think is crucial. And
maybe someone like an Antonio they brought on tonight to be like that sort of player would be sound, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to give DCL a rest, and you can throw someone like that up top, or play him on the right or the left. I think that sort of versatility in the squad would be quite handy. And I'm not against sort of signing Khedira or Isco or any of those sort of older sort of players, because I think we've seen in the last few weeks just how valuable squad depth is, and we don't necessarily need Sami Khedira for long spells of the game, but if we could throw him in once every now and then and he can do a job. I think that's really valuable. But at the same time, you've got to weigh up what's it going to come with. And you mentioned the baggage and the injuries and the wages, and that's the real balancing act that the club's got to sort of think about.
Dave, are you going to make a point there?
No, I was completely agreeing with Ryan there. I think that attacking area is definitely somewhere we need to add something different, because tonight's the example, isn't it? Who's your alternative if Calvert-Lewin's not firing or we're not able to play to Calvert-Lewin's strengths? Certainly not Cenk Tosun. We've got a lad on loan at PSG that might have provided a little bit more if he come on off the bench. That's the way Everton work, isn't it? There's no criticism of that, of course, because quite clearly he wanted that, and that's a different conversation. I'm thinking how you approach it. If you're desperate to get somebody in, and if you're looking to exploit the fantastic position that we found ourselves in this winter, do you maybe have a look at the Championship? Are there any players knocking about there who you think, do you know what, it's worth taking a chance? Much like Antonio, you mentioned, Matt, he's come from that world, applied his trade down there, done his apprenticeship, and then even like you look at Jarrod Bowen as well, for who they got from Hull. I think that was a bit more of a pricey move, but those players are out there. We've done it already with Godfrey as well. I'm just wondering, is there anything like that which would be a little bit more easier, perhaps, to negotiate than going abroad? Looking at a type where, yes, we know Carlo can attract names like Sami Khedira, but he wouldn't look at Everton if Carlo wasn't here. But is it a well-trodden path we need to use every time? I'm not too sure. Maybe there's someone in the Championship there. I'm sure people will be suggesting it now in the YouTube comments and having their own thoughts on that. Who Everton go and get? Milik is another one I've seen mentioned quite often.
Someone mentioned in the comments about him as well, potentially.
Diego Costa.
Look at many games at Napoli, so yeah.
Yeah, Costa's another one that was mentioned, wasn't he? I don't see that working.
I need someone who's like a bit more mobile, just
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I'd love to see. I would love to see us get somebody who's a little bit more of a battering ram, a little bit more of a physical presence up there, who's got that pace as well. Somebody like a Ben Godfrey, but in an attacking sense. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe Luca Dean comes back, Dave. That's where he can play. Lash him off.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You look at a big, powerful, strong lad who's really, really quick when he gets going as well. Look, you're ideally searching for Tim Cahill, aren't you? That's the exact type of player you want in there, who will just run all day for you, be just a nuisance in the opposition box, even if the team gets very, very few chances. I mean, you would if Tim Cahill was in his pomp right now and played for Everton tonight, you could see him putting away one of them very, very few chances that Everton managed to create. That was the type of player he was. But yeah, I'd like to see us look a little bit further outside the box, really, than have a look at these big European names and start playing Football Manager 2008 and stuff like that. I'd like to see us look outside the box.
There we go. We'll leave it there, lads. Fireworks seem to have sided now anyway. The Reds...
Because the podcast's stopping. I'm telling you, this person knows who I am.
Yeah, the Reds have obviously tuned in to watch Villa Man United now instead. Yeah, there we go. Cheers to Dave. Cheers to Ryan for coming on. Unfortunately, the year didn't get off to the best start. for the Blues. But yeah, we'll be back again next week to build up to that game against Rotherham in the Cup, which is obviously a big one, trying to stay in that competition, and loads more. But yeah, hope you've all had a good